the BB3 results tracking system. This is a system I developed over many, many years of working with clients and athletes. And what I was looking for was the latest technology again and again and testing it for consistency and reliability, which means it may not be accurate, but it will show us the trends in which direction you're heading, and if that makes sense. Now, the latest studies that test all these different types of technology measuring your muscle to fat ratio, also known as body composition, shows that there's a plus or minus 4% differential, and it's not reliable, which means just because you lost fat doesn't mean it went down. And so what this lends us to is a challenge. And the challenge is how can we know if we're heading in the right direction or not? Well, it's not quite as simple and as easy as just standing on the machine or doing a measurement. We need to look at multiple types of assessments, but it doesn't take long and it doesn't cost a lot of money. It's actually very simple, and this is the single most reliable way of knowing if you're on track or off track. And what that means is there's gonna be things you do more often and things you do less often. There's gonna be things you do daily and there's gonna be things you do monthly, but that will be the range. But the first step is this: you need to set a clear goal for the next 3 to 6 months. Now, some people have goals like more energy. It's really hard to measure that. So I would come up with a way to assess that. But one of the best ways to get energy is to add lean muscle mass. Muscle is the physical location where fat is burned and where ATP, energy, is created. So if you want more energy, you should focus on muscle. That's a simple one. If you have a lot of extra body fat, carrying around extra weight is like wearing a weighted vest, but worse because it's not balanced like a weighted vest is. And so losing 10 pounds of body fat is very energizing. So when I talk about body composition, I don't give a rat's ass what anyone looks at. Like, if someone wants to be a sumo wrestler, so be it. I actually trained a sumo wrestler before, and I learned a lot from it, and I have a lot of respect for that man. It was a lot of work, believe it or not. He trained 4 hours every day, and he did intermittent fasting, believe it or not. So I won't get into that right now, but I'll teach you about intermittent fasting later on. It's not good or bad, it's a tool. And you have to know how to use it depending on your goal. But the first step is you need to set a clear goal for the next 3 to 6 months. For example, this is something I would use or recommend. I am intending and I am determined to follow my plan of attack every day without fail and incinerate 10 pounds of unneeded body fat while maintaining or adding lean muscle. In addition, I will live as the lion and enjoy the journey no matter what. I refuse to suffer due to weak thoughts or a weak mindset. I create my reality through my thoughts, words, and deeds. Now that is comprehensive because it did two things. There are two types of goals in life. There are outcome goals, which is what everyone does. They're like, I'm going to lose 30 pounds by this day. That's an outcome goal. The problem with that is you can't tell if you're on track or making progress every day. So as soon as you feel like life got a little inconvenient and you're not sure if you're making progress, there's uncertainty. So what do? Usually quit. Usually get off track. So we also have something called a process goal. And that's saying I am devoted to doing the little things every day. And if I keep doing these little things each day, have these habits, it will move me in the right direction. That's just fact. Anyone can achieve a physical goal as long as you have a heartbeat. If you're alive, you can do it. I used to say if you were alive and you can move, but I had someone with no arms and legs that got shredded. So, so even I was wrong in that case. So you need a clear goal, and this is the first step, and this is very important. So you got to get this part down. Now, once you know if you want to burn fat or build muscle or whatever it is, maybe it's a performance thing, something you can measure though, there are a handful of measurements you want to take. Now, these are what I call baseline measurements. The first one is your average body weight. Body weight can fluctuate due to water hydration status up to 8 pounds in a day. That we've measured. Some people may have more, some people have less, but it varies dramatically person to person, especially if they eat a lot of different foods and they don't have consistent habits. Days they work out, days they don't, the body's all over the place. That's why consistency is so important. So this is what we call the true weight. So if you use the Macro Factor app, it will say true weight in there, and that's a term used in research to get the average of your weight throughout the week. So ideally, you'd take your body weight first thing in the morning before you eat, before you do anything. 7 days a week. That would be ideal. Now, you can't always do that because you need to use the same scale and so forth too to create consistency. So if you're traveling, but you want to get at least 3 measurements in as a minimum to make a good decision, because we want the average of those fluctuations to tell, are you gaining weight or are you losing weight? It could be water weight, it could be muscle, could be fat, whatever it is, whatever direction you go in. So keep that in mind. Now, the next step to clarify what is happening with muscle, fat, and water, you want to take girth measurements using a tape measure. There's something called a myo tape, which is just a tape measure with a little hook on it. You press the button and it puts the same amount of tension. Because if you ever used a tape measure, you know you could squeeze more or squeeze less. What this does, it automates it and does a consistent amount of tension. So just look up MYO tape. You can get it on Amazon. There's 1,000 different brands now. It costs like $10 or something. But I would definitely recommend that. And if you go in the BB3 app, it will say like girth measurements. The more you have, the better. Now, we can actually use those in a couple ways. One is if you lose 10 pounds and your waist doesn't go down, then that tells us something. Like, we're going to have to look at everything. How's your strength? Is your strength going up or going down? If your strength's going down and your waist stayed the same and you lost 10 pounds, you may have lost muscle. The other thing it could be inflammation in the gut, which is pretty rare, so it's unlikely that would be it, but maybe you just had food poisoning or something, and there's an inflammatory response, so you're distended in that case, which is temporary, so you just keep measuring, keep going, and it will go away. Body always heals. And so keep that in mind. So like the stomach generally does not go up. You don't build muscle around the waistline. There's one exception to that, and that's if someone's a high-level power lifter, but that's actually a goal to make them stronger. So keep that in mind. But like there's some measurements that are really important, like your neck, your hips, your waist, your upper arm, your thighs. Like some areas of the body grow muscle, some of them do not. And so if your arms are fairly lean, and that number stays the same and you lost 10 pounds, that's a really great sign, because more than likely you lost fat. But that's one way to do it. Now, we can make even better use. Thanks to the United States Army, they created a test using a tape measure that has an algorithm where, and I'll send you the link to this, it's body fat. It measures your body fat to muscle ratio, what we call body composition test, or your body fat percentage. It's going to estimate it using just a couple measurements. So you're going to use your waist and your neck, and there's one for men and one for women. I'll send you the link. You could just literally Google United States Army body fat tape measure test, and it will come up. There's a whole bunch of them. I'll send you the one that I usually use. But that is a very reliable indicator of body fat, and you want to do it. The first time you do it, it doesn't mean anything. It's just like, hey, here I am. Now you have a goal. You follow the plan of attack for a period of time, at least 4 weeks, and then you remeasure body fat and then see where you are now. If that went up, all right, maybe you didn't follow the plan right. Maybe you ate the wrong amount of food. Maybe you weren't tracking your food. Maybe, you were eyeballing things. Then that means maybe we need to tighten it up a little bit and get on those things. Or maybe you were skipping resistance training and losing muscle. And so if you just do cardio and restrict your food intake, eat less calories, research shows for every 10 pounds you lose like that, you lose 6 pounds of muscle, which is where muscle is burned, or where fat is burned. Muscle is where fat is burned. So now you have a slower metabolism if that occurs, and you produce less ATP. So you're tired too. So you don't even feel like exercising. So that is what happens with yo-yo dieting. You got to do resistance training. You got to do the cardio. You got to do the mobility and structural balance. That's why it's in every program. Regardless of who I work with, those are core principles that apply to everyone. So what's cool here is you have a way of, you have your average body weight throughout the week. You have your girth measurements from around your body, right? And then you have your way to estimate your body fat percentage to see what direction you're going on. Now there's a more precise indicator. What changes in the body before your body composition, before your muscle to fat ratio changes? Performance changes. When I say performance, I'm talking about strength and endurance. When you have a high level of strength, a high level of endurance, you have more energy. You are a healthier person. That's what that means. So people that want energy, these are the things we focus on. People say, well, what can I take for energy? You can't take anything for energy. You have to create energy by the things you do and how you fuel your body. So as you optimize fitness, your health improves and your energy comes with it. So a performance assessment is really simple. So you notice that I change the program every 2 weeks. And why is that? Well, could you do a program longer? Yeah, sometimes I actually have people do it longer if they have an injury or doing rehabilitation. But I do it for 2 weeks for a reason. One, it keeps it interesting. That way no one gets bored. And the other thing is it's a good way of measuring your progress. So are you on track? Is your body recovering from the stress? How do we do this? Well, the first week you'll get results from just the new stimulus. Now you're going to do the same workout the second week. So you're only doing each workout usually twice. Now the second week, there's something you have to do to make this useful. You got to show up. You can't dog it. You can't be bitching and complaining like, oh, I'm just going to go through the motions. That negates all of this. And that's for anything in life. So really, every training session is a microcosm of life. Because once you master this, when you start showing up fully for every workout and you say like, hey, I'm going to tap into that part of me that's unstoppable. We call that the lion, right? Instead of letting the lamb dictate it, like, oh, I didn't sleep, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And you start telling the story of limitation. That is the greatest addiction in humanity. Telling everybody about the story of why it's so hard for you. No one gives a shit. It doesn't help anyone. It makes people not respect you and not want to be around you. So if you're the type of person that's doing that, maybe you're not aware, I just gave you the greatest gift of your life. Now you could take it and be like, oh, Billy's a jackass. You can do that. But I can promise you, you will be harming yourself. I'm only telling this because I know you're the type of people that can handle the truth. Now, if I did this just on Facebook or something, I would get annihilated. If not that I give a shit, I'm not even on there. But you know what I mean. There are certain types of people that can handle the truth and they will use it to better themselves and better the world. You're one of those people, and that's why I share it with you. So let's say the first week you showed up, you gave it your best, and you used the BOSS principle. What's the BOSS principle? It's the 4 indicators of if you got to do at least one of these 4 things in any training session for it to be effective, to stimulate change. Is your workout working? BOSS. B. What does it stand for? Burn. So if you're lifting weights and it starts burning, that is a great sign. That means you challenge the muscle. Now it can change. You create a stimulus as long as you give it the right nutrition and sleep and hydration, right? So you stimulate. So burning, when it burns, you produce more lactate in the muscle, not lactic acid, lactate, if you want to be specific. And that the body's response is it makes more of a hormone called growth hormone, which burns fat, builds muscle, and turns back the clock. It regenerates your body. But you got to earn it. So the more it burns, the better. So keep that in mind. So B is burns. O is out of breath. When you challenge yourself, you use more oxygen. And when you get oxygen debt, you get out of breath. And that's a great thing. When you're out of breath, your heart rate's like you're strengthening your circulatory and your cardiovascular and respiratory system. A lot of great things are happening in that case. Now, so that's B, O, and S is sweat. When you contract muscles, when you challenge your body, you contract muscles, a byproduct of that is heat. And heat changes your core body temperature. And we have to be at a certain stable core body temperature to be healthy. And when we're not healthy, it elevates to boost immunity. And so sweating is the best way to remove toxins that we've been exposed to because it doesn't go through the GI tract. It comes right out the pores. And we've measured this and we found like heavy metals in sweat. We found glyphosate, which is Roundup in people's sweat. I know it's a gross study, but it's good to know these things. So now when you sweat, it's success. When the muscles are burned, it's success. When you're out of breath, it's success. And what's the last one of BOSS? The last S? Struggle. Like I always say, challenge creates change. Your body craves comfort, and the more comfort you give, the more it degrades, the more it rots, the more it weakens. You have to challenge it. This is what aging is. Aging is like, hey, I'm doing good. I'm not going to take care of my body. Everything's going good. I just want to be comfortable. I don't want to sweat. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to challenge my body. I don't want to get out of breath. I don't want to burn. And then what happens is you don't have that stimulus. The body becomes weaker. The body, this is the overriding principle. The body becomes what you demand of it. And I've seen incredible feats of strength from people that don't even warm up. The Bulgarian powerlifting team. I've seen a gentleman come out. He was like 65 kilos. He was not a big man. Walked out, got under the bar, 550 pounds, and squatted it ass to heels. He took it to the basement and came up and just went right back. Did not warm up, did not do anything. And the translator explained to me, he says, we believe the body becomes the function. Whatever we demand of it, it will become it. And they did that through repetition, repetition, repetition. There's so much I learned from those people in Bulgaria that I'll share with you sometime. But performance assessments, we come back to it. So as long as you show up, this is useful. So on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you are doing strength or resistance training workouts. And a lot of times we're doing circuits, like a time circuit or a finisher of a 90-second max rep. These are all assessments. So the first week, if you show up and let's say you did an 8-minute time circuit and you got through 3 rounds, 1 full exercise and 3 repetitions before time expired. You put that in your post whenever you log your workout, and then next time you work out, you're going to track everything there ideally. So if you do 2 circuits, put down 2 things, whatever your results are. If you did the 90-second finisher, put out how many reps you got for it. Then the following week, just hit diary at the bottom and say, hey, what did I do last week? Scroll down to your results, say, okay, I got through 3 rounds, 1 exercise and 3 reps on the first one. I am going to annihilate that. I'm going to show up fully as the line, and I'm going to love this shit. And then now you create an intention. If you look at the psychology of this, it is genius, honestly. Not to toot my own horn. I actually stole it from many other people, but it is highly effective. So I know these things are like, oh, I know that. If you're not doing it, you don't know shit. Let me tell you that. Everyone says like, oh, I heard of that. What else do you got? Like, people are addicted to novelty, to new things, to shiny objects. Self-mastery, mastery anything, greatness anything, is taking a handful of things and doing them again and again and again, no matter what. It doesn't matter how you feel. It's about the devotion to the process and becoming it. That is what self-mastery is. So you show up and you say, I gave it all I got, and what happened? Well, there's 2 things that could happen. 1, you surpassed it. Celebrate, make note of it, and that tells me your body is recovering. Recovery is when your body actually changes. You damage the body when you train. You damage tissue. You create discomfort, and the body doesn't want discomfort, so it wants homeostasis or comfort, and so it strengthens your tendons, strengthens your muscles. It sheds unwanted body fat because you burn off so much fuel. Does that make sense? So keep that in mind. And so what could it mean other than victory? Well, if you did not beat it, you have to be honest with yourself. Maybe you just didn't show up. Maybe you just didn't give your best, and it's kind of like a scratch. Like, all right, next workout, I'm going to really give it what I got. I fucked up today. Just own it. It's no big deal. It's not over, but hold yourself to that standard. No one can hold you accountable to anything in life. I learned this from being a personal trainer. I won the world's best personal trainer contest every year they had it. And I'm not telling you to impress you. I'm telling you that this is coming from the guy whose identity was pretty wrapped up into personal training. If you hire a personal trainer and you just want them to tell you what to do, you will be weakened. You will never master this, and you will never get the true rewards of it because you delegated your power to someone else. Just tell me what to do. Those are the words of weakness. Those are the words of defeat. It's when you own it. Like, I trained The Rock for 7 years. That guy became his own best personal trainer. He asked me question after question. He wanted to understand everything. And once he understood the principles, he didn't need me anymore. And I was like, hey, bud, you're good to go. And now when you need something, I'm there, but he doesn't need me to do all this stuff because he understands. And I have 7 years of programs for him. So he's covered there. And so, but what it is you want to come in with the mindset of the humble student of self-mastery. This is how people succeed. This is how you create lasting change. So if you didn't improve on the second week, what do? Here is the recovery factor checklist. 1, adequate quality and quantity of sleep. So say you were at a Tony event or whatever, and you didn't sleep very much, and your performance decreased. All right, well, what do? Like, I know it's sleep. I didn't sleep. All right, let's make that a priority, and let's get back on track. That's all you need to do. Now, let's say it wasn't sleep. What else could it be? It could be total fuel intake or total calorie intake. That's why we want to measure these things. If you don't measure it, we have no clue. We don't know if we should increase it or decrease it. So that's really important. It's looking like numbers in your business. Do you know how many leads you're getting? Do you know how much money you're coming in? How much money is in the bank accounts? What's the plan? How much is that plan going to cost? What are we going to do for marketing? All these optics or metrics are really important. And so total calories. Are you getting enough raw materials? You are what you eat. You need to get enough raw materials in order to rebuild the tissue that you damage. So the next thing is protein. Now, if you snap your fingers, billions of cells die, and you got trillions of cells in your body, no matter how big or small you are. We all have trillions. And what you do today is what you become tomorrow. Think that through. So if you eat good today, you get enough calories, you get enough protein, get enough sleep, you challenged your body with resistance or with cardio, it's going to improve. It only has that choice. There's really nothing to counteract that. So when people say this doesn't work for me, I promise you they are missing one of these things. It has worked every single time. If you are a human with a heartbeat, this works. When someone says, if you don't know the amount of calories you're having, or amount of protein you're having, and nutrition, then I'm sorry, no one can tell you what to do. If you're just saying these are good foods and bad foods, you will fail. If you might get lucky, you might lose a few pounds or gain a few pounds, but it's really luck. That's what it comes down to. I don't rely on luck. I rely on precision. I rely on science and the art of living it. So there's not one thing. So keep this in mind. Adequate quality nutrition of sleep. Adequate quality and quantity of calories. So you could be eating really shitty foods. You might be getting the right calories, but if you're eating processed like bread all day or pasta all day, and you tend to overeat when you eat processed foods. Not that they're all bad for everybody. Some people can eat anything, but keep that in mind. Are you getting enough fuel? Then are you getting enough protein? When you look in the mirror, you're looking at protein, your muscles. The process of cells breaking down, being rebuilt is called protein synthesis. There is so much research on this. If you ever heard protein's bad for you, I would challenge that up and down. I could negate anything anyone's ever said with actual science, multiple studies. The last 10 years, 12 years, there's more research that came out in the last 12 years on sports nutrition and training, and all of history combined prior. Like, that's how much. So if someone's old school, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I read research every day. All my friends are researchers. I know what's going on, and we're always evolving, upgrading. So you got to get enough protein. Then hydration. Hydration is not just water. It's water and minerals or electrolytes. So if you're doing the ultimate fat burning strategy, there is like an adrenal support cocktail in there. If you haven't seen that, scroll up in the chat, it's in there. I sent it to everybody. And you'll see that there's minerals in there, fulvic acid. Those are trace minerals, but sea salt. That you could just put a little sprinkle of sea salt in your water once a day or put it on your food, and you're going to get those minerals. You don't have to, if you get too many, it can cause a problem. So make sure that you just be consistent with it to see how you respond. So those are the 4 main things, but then there's an X factor. What is that X factor? It is what we call distress. Distress, there's 2 types of stress. There's good stress, which is called EU stress, and then there's distress, which is the type of stress that is destructive. A lot of times this is physical, not just physical stress, like doing too much exercise or too little exercise. Like a lot of people do too much cardio and they just destroy their bodies because they don't realize the impact, and they're not eating enough raw materials for it to recover. And so that is a very common pattern. So what are we looking for here? Well, we want to be aware. So maybe you're having relationship problems, maybe you're having financial problems, maybe you're having business problems. Just, you want to use training to reconnect to that part of you that is unstoppable. And so we all have that lion in the lamb. The lion is your best self. That's all that means. And how do you know if you're connected? You're in a state of love-based emotion. That could be determination. That could be passion. That could be excitement. It could be joy, whatever you call it. Or you could be in fear-based emotion. That's what we call the lamb. And fear-based emotion is destructive. Love-based emotion is productive. It's constructive. It builds you up. You are healthier. When you're in fear-based emotional states, your body breaks down faster than it rebuilds. A lot of people don't understand that. This is a huge thing. Humans are the only species that can imagine something and create the physiology of fear, of stress, where the body breaks down just by thinking about something that may never happen, like worrying about the future or revisiting a trauma from the past. Think about that. But listen to this audio again and again. This is worth its weight in gold. This is something that took me a long time to figure out, a lot of testing, a lot of experimenting. But if you memorize this and you can test any protocol doing this, and you will know if it's working. And really the question is it working? It's, are you working? Are you doing the little things each day that lead to massive results over time? That's self-mastery, my friend. If you have questions, let me know. I got your back.
You tap into the real you, but you have to retrain yourself. The way you retrain yourself is you wake your ass up in the morning and you say, I am here for a reason and a purpose. And it's bigger than my moods. It's bigger than the difficulties of the day. I am here to live, not the fear of a lamb.